Hi everybody, Leslie here, back in my craft lab. I've got something a bit different for you today. I was going to show you how I store all of my word dies. I've shown these in a couple of videos and somebody asked a question in the comments, so I thought I'd do a full show of how I do it, and I'm going to show you how you can make your own. So if you like this idea and you want to be able to make it yourself, I'll stick chapters in so you can skip to the bit if you want to where I make these and show you how you can make your own. It's not my original idea. This little strip idea, I got that idea from a set of dies. So I'm going to show you these first. These are Simply Made Crafts by Helen Griffin, and I got these from CraftStash a few years ago, and you can still see them on the CraftStash website, but they're not in stock, and I don't know, I have no idea if they'll come back into stock at all. But the idea for these was actually to make kind of a rolodex style memory album. So you basically made like a suitcase style box, and it's got the little straps and the corner reinforcers and strips to reinforce the edges. So you could make that out of scrapbooking paper and things. And then you'd add the little piece in the bottom, which this die is what makes that. And then you could add cards one way round or another way round. So you could add them, you could have double wide ones, you could have single wide ones, or you could do them this way round, ignore all the little pieces. So you could have it this way round or this way round, and you could make an album. Now, I've never done that, and it isn't why I bought the die. I thought I was going to use it for ink swatches, which I still am going to, I think, and I'll show you why in a second. But I wouldn't recommend for the die storage using the box. It isn't sturdy enough, even though it's really reinforced. I'll show you mine in a second. But these are the only bits that you would need if you wanted the die set that cut these out. But the 4 dies in it, these are really simple, obviously, to make yourself. And even though I've got the dies, I made a couple with them to start with, but you can make your own and be more economical with your card stock as well if you do make your own. So I don't actually use the dies anymore, even though I've got them. So I'm going to show you how I actually make them myself. But you can see where I got the idea from. But it wasn't to make a die storage system. So this is the box that I originally made from that set. And you can see I've got all the reinforcers and everything on, but it isn't sturdy enough. Once it's got all these in, I've had to sit it in one of my, it's like, this is just one of the random ones that I got from TK Maxx, but it fits on my Ikea units. And any of my word dies that are still, which are too big for my little cards, I've still got in this is a UK A6. This is roughly US, is it 4.5 by 5.25, the American card size. So it's the A6 is roughly that side. So anything that's still just a bit too big for my cards, I have still got, but that's down to like 4 packets at the back, and I've got space that I could add a few more in there. But because this isn't sturdy enough, and these, of course, it fits at the top, but these boxes tend to narrow. I've got mine sitting in a book so it doesn't drop right to the bottom, because it twists it out of shape because it's not quite wide enough at the bottom of my box. But I wouldn't recommend using a cardboard, a box you've made yourself. I'm just going to show you how to make the strips and the cards, so that if you've got some sort of sturdier box, you could stick it into an acrylic box. But these are old Ikea boxes. I think they're from the Tjena, T-J-E-N-A range. So I think these are for the Tjena range, which is, I'm not sure if they still make this one specifically. I'll link if there's anything still similar in stock. But these are like the really sturdy card that they make like magazine holders and things out of. And this came with, another few smaller ones. But if I can make my own strip and make it to any length I like, so this is roughly a 12-inch, in fact, it's more than 12 inches. This is 36 centimetres, and so 12 by 12 on my boards there. So it's quite a bit more. So this actually goes all the way to the back on my cube storage Ikea units. So I could have them going all the way to the back with my little cards in if I make myself a long strip. So something that's sturdier is what I'd recommend. Or you could do them in little mini boxes that, you know, recycle packaging. This isn't stuck in yet, but I'll show you how to make the strips. Find yourself a box. Could be recycled packaging. A lot of the Christmas gift boxes are really nice sturdy boxes. So I was thinking, whatever box you've got, if you can make your own cards to fit it, you can do whatever you want with it. So the reason I thought for ink swatches, which is why I did it and still haven't done it, it's quite an undertaking. So the smaller cards, I did think if I used one of the smaller cards, I could stamp in the middle, ink blend on a corner. Maybe for the oxide inks, I could do some, splatter it with some water on another corner and still have plenty space and pop it in to like a card catalogue. And then you can pull them out, you can compare different brands, you can compare different colours. So I thought that might be a good way to use it as well as my die storage. And the reason that I love this system, it's great. This is the Jennifer Maguire system. These are Jennifer Maguire's printouts. These are in the, I think, the coin pocket holders off Amazon. But every time, so I've got all my different inks, but every time I get a new colour, I have to shunt everything along. And that gets quite tiresome. So, like my Catherine Pooler inks, I've got some gaps in so that I can shunt things along a bit more easily. And so, for example, with the Alter New inks, I've just got the mini cubes and they come in a set of 4. But every time I do get a new set, if I need to slot it into the rainbow, I have to shunt all these pages along, which all that up to there. So this is all Alter New ink. So if I put another set in, I'd have to shunt them all along. The same goes for the Distress Oxide. So, for example, the Kitsch Flamingo is one of the newer ones. When I got that, I had to shunt every single one along. And look, down here I've got Uncharted Mariner that, you know, I haven't bothered because I haven't shunted them all along one. So it's sort of stuck in kind of where it belongs. And I've got I've got the last 2. So I've got all the Distress Oxides that are out at the moment. So the 2 latest ones that I've got, which is the Lumberjack Plaid and the Lost Shadow, I've got them ready for swatching sitting on my desk, but of course I'm going to have to move everything along. So I don't think I'm going to get to that because I think it'll be quite an undertaking. I think that's one of those after Christmas, January in the cold midwinter jobs. But I think it'd be a really good system instead of this for me to put my ink swatches on. Just to come back to the one that I've been using this as my die storage for a few years. And I wanted to really quickly show you a couple of examples of why I do it and why I do think it's a really good way to do it. So you can put big dies on it. And if it's individual letters, I do it that way round so I don't have to stick all the letters back down. I just need to put like the A and the O back in. If it's a big word die where it's stuck together, I do it like that. And this is just cheap black card, but this is one of the reasons I do it. So this is a Crafter's Companion set. And it did have the words on the packaging, but it was quite big packaging. It was probably roughly UK A6, so it was probably roughly this sort of size. And this takes up half the space, but the packaging didn't show on something that I could use the words, and you can't see at a glance what they are. I put them the right way round, cut out, so you can see at a glance what the words are. And then if I've got a word die, so this one, for example, if it's got a shadow die, I cut the shadow as well. I do it both ways around. Sometimes I do it white and black, sometimes black and white. It depends what I'm doing. But this one is a Stamps by Me set. And I think there is a stamp that matches the shadow. So I've got this stored in the stamp set. So there's no magnet on the back, there's no die on this. So I've got written on it Shine Bright plus stamps, which means if there's nothing on the back, it's in my stamp storage. So if I'm flicking through just looking for something to go on a card, rather than choosing it in advance, which, you know, depends how you feel one day, doesn't it, when you're crafting. It means that I've still got that there with my die cut words, even though it's in the stamp sets. And then the other one that I thought was useful to show you is I do the same for my alphabets, wherever I put them. They're in here. Yeah. So for my alphabets, obviously they aren't going to fit on these tiny little cards. So on my alphabet ones, so this one, it's just the large alphabet alphas. This one, it's got, you know, uppercase, lowercase, 1, 2, 3, and some punctuation. This one's got uppercase, 1, 2, 3, the ordinals to go with the numbers, and punctuation. This is one of the X-cut ones. So they're in my really big die storage. So I don't have that many huge dies, but that's where my alphabets are. But it means that I can compare the sizes and the fonts to other dies. So if I want to make my own sentiment because I can't find something in my stash, they're in there. And the thing I do need to do is I need to go and add some tabs in this. But yeah, there's 50 sets in here. So if I pop these ones back in, you can see it doesn't take up a huge amount of space. The larger sets are split across 2 or 3 cards. And I've only got 1 or 2 that don't fit on these cards. So these cards are 4.5 inches wide and they're just 3 inches tall. So height-wise, they don't take up a lot of space. Like, that's a really long congratulations card, and I've just got it popped on a diagonal and it gets a bit squished, but it's fine. I know what it says and I can see the font, and I just leave it hanging out the top corner in my box, which is fine. And I've only got 1 or 2 that are big enough that that's necessary. So this is a Crafty Potential set, so it's just a tiny bit wide, so it still fits in there fine. So that's my die storage. I'll show you how to make the little bottom piece. And I thought I'd show you the ones that I've made today, which is why I started filming this, thinking, oh, I'll show you while I'm making them. So I had this stack, this massive stack of word dies that I've got probably all of them within the last 6 or 7 months. Some have come on magazines. Some of them I bought at craft shows, so mixture of things. And I've made all this fit into that. So there's quite a lot of sets here, and some of them were big sets, and I wanted to show you this one. So this is a Spellbinders set that I got at a craft show, £16.50. It was an expensive set, and how rubbish is the packaging? You'd think it was going to be this flower, but it wasn't. It's word dies, which I knew because I saw it, but I'd never have bought it thinking if I thought it was the flower set. But the dies, there's no picture other than the thank you of what they all look like. So where have I put them? There they are. So I've managed to fit the 13 dies that came on it onto 2 little cards. So that's the dies that came in this set. And as you can see, it takes up less space than the original packaging would have done. And the same goes for, this is Catherine Pooler set. And there is no picture at all. And these are the dies that you had to snip apart. So they were just loose in the packaging. And backwards, I think you'll agree, it's not instantly obvious what those dies say. So this was, oh, happy day and birth, so you could make birthday, happy birthday. So I can see that now. I can see the font, and they're on 1 card. So again, it's another good way to reduce your storage space. See, if you don't store in the original packaging. And some of them, so this is a tiny die that came with Creative Stamping magazine a month or so ago. So it's sharing a card, because it said you are my sunshine. I've got it sharing a card with one that says hello sunshine, which is a Time for Tea Designs one. So the Time for Tea Designs individual words come in a package this big, and then that one, and they both fit on a card like that. So you can make them take up a lot less space, a lot less packaging lying around, and they take up a lot less space than even if you put them in your own storage sleeves. So that's what I've made today. And my magnets are all reused magnets. I don't have to mess with the sticky stuff on the backs of the dies because I would never, it puts me off every time I pull them off the sticky bits. But my dies, most of it's reused magnets. You don't have to cut into brand new pieces if you've been using a magnetic shim. So these ones are magnetic shims that have been in a Cuttlebug for years, and they're squashed flat. But look, even I can shape that, and other than I just bent the card because I was holding the corner of it, they don't come off. So if you're worried about losing them, they really don't come off, even off reused magnets. And some of the bits I've got are bits from when my kids were little, and I used to save the bits that were around like magnet books that children get, and I used to save the bits when we push the magnets out. So some of mine are on random bits of magnet. So I'll show you how to make the little strips and the cards, and let's get on with it and do that. So you will need a scoreboard, or you could use the line on your trimmer. So I've got this is my Hunky Dory Adorable Scoreable scoreboard. No, it's the Adorable scoreboard. And I've just got some white card. This is the full length of a A4 sheet. So it's not 12 inches, but you could make it from 12 inch. It's what, 11 and just over 11 and a half inches. So all you need to do is score at 1/4 of an inch. And I'm just doing it the full length, and then I can cut it down to whatever length I want. So 1/4 of an inch, and then 5/8 of an inch. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's 1/4, and it's slipped. Make sure it doesn't slip. 1/4, 5/8, then at 1 1/8. Then at 1 1/2, and then at 1 3/8. Okay, so that's 1/4, 5/8, 1 1/8, 1 1/2, and 1 3/8. And we're actually just going to cut it on that last 1 3/8 mark. I know white on camera is awful, but if I hold that up, you should have something like that. And if you were using the line on your trimmer, you'd want to mark it at 1/4, and then if you were sliding it along, you'd want to slide it along 3/8 of an inch, then to 1/2 inch, then 3/8 of an inch, and 1/4 inch. So the sizes of the little strips, it's 1/4, 3/8, 1/2, 3/8, 1/4. So it depends on how you like scoring, what measurements you'll use. I'll put the measurements on my blog. So that's www.handmadeinwindsor.co.uk/blog. So I will put those measurements up there. So all you need to do, as I said, is just trim it off on that last score mark, which is at 1 3/8. Okay. And then you just want to fold on all your score lines. So at this point, if you know you're going to want it shorter, I'd cut it to the length that you want it, so you don't have to do the great big long score lines. So measure whatever size box you've got and cut it to length at this point. So for example, I'm debating using this little mini box, which is from that Ikea set. So I would just mark it where I want. And I could be accurate and do it with a trimmer, but let's just grab my scissors, okay, and just cut it and just make sure it's going to fit. Okay. So you can do it in long lengths, short lengths, however long you want it to be. And then I'm just going to burnish all these score lines with my Teflon bone folder. Okay. So you should end up with something that looks a little bit like this. So hopefully you can see the score lines better. And we're going to end up with that shape. So all you need to do now, I'd do it with a nice strong wet glue that you trust. On one of those flaps, it doesn't matter which, they should both be more or less the same size. Okay. And just make sure it grabs. And you can't fold it flat, but you can sort of push it to one side. You should be able to see that. And then push it to the other side just to make sure it's nicely grabbed. And then I would give that a few minutes to dry. Obviously, if I was sticking it in the bottom of this, I've not decided if I'm not, you would then just put your glue on the bottom and glue it straight into the bottom of your box. So then you've got your little mini card catalogue. Now, to make the cards, you can obviously make them to any size you want to. So I'm just using, this has got stuff on the back. This is old faded card that's been in my stash for years. And all I did to get the mark on the bottom here was measure 1/2 inch from the bottom. So, and put a mark. 1/2 inch from the bottom and put a little mark. And then just to find the centre. Now my card, these are 4.5 inches wide. So I want 2 1/4 is the centre point. So I know that that's the centre point there. So I'm just going to rule a little line across. You only need to do this once, by the way. If you can do it with a T-ruler, just make it a bit bigger than you know you need it on your first one. So I've got my centre line marked. There you go, you can see. And it's 1/2 inch from the, sorry, 1/4 inch from the bottom. And then on the piece that we just made, this piece, which is 1/2 inch, just mark the centre point, so the widest top point. So I've just put a little mark so I can see it halfway along the wider piece, the top, which will be the top. So all I'm going to do is sit. I'll bring it up so you can see. So I'm just sitting my little mark in the centre on my little line. And I'm just going to hold that there and draw around it. So now it doesn't actually need to be as accurate as you would think it needs to be. So now all you need to do is, I'm just going a little bit bigger than my line, cutting up to that 1/2 inch in the centre, cut across, and cut that little piece out. And just to show, that will then just check it fits on your little thing. So then all you need to do is, once you've got one that you're happy with, use it as a template, draw onto all your others and cut it out, which is all that's how I made these. I didn't make these using the die. These are literally drawn on and cut with a pair of scissors. So once you've got your one template, just line it up and draw around it. So thanks for watching. Hopefully that was useful as a way to solve a storage issue in a really inexpensive way, because even if you have to buy the magnet sheets to do this, It solves so many problems like the backwards die, so you can't read the words. Don't have to deal with all the sticky bits on packaging and all different sizes of packaging. So yeah, I've been using it 2 or 3 years now, and it does just really work. It means you can keep some of your dies with their stamp sets and have a blank back, but still have a reference in your word die storage. So for me, it solves loads of problems, is really inexpensive. You can add to it whenever you need to. And I think the only thing I'll change is make a sturdier box. Like I said, I wouldn't recommend this box. It's too heavy for these. And probably add some taller cards with tabs, so I can, you know, put all my hello dies together and all my thank yous together, happy birthdays together. But I think that's about the only thing that I'd do different from exactly how I've got them now. And like I say, this has worked for a good few years now. So how about a craft room tour? I know lots of crafters do them, but I don't know if anybody's really interested or not. So I will do one if people are interested. So if you'd like to see my craft room in all its messy delights, stick a comment in the video, and yeah, I can't promise when I'll get to it, but I will do a craft room tour if people are interested in seeing the rest of my craft room. So thanks for watching, and I will see you again, hopefully doing some craft in another video very soon. Bye for now.